So, I made a promise, and I'm holding up to that promise. I'm gonna be honest. For a variety of reasons, I wish I got a haircut. And also I kinda wish I didn't do this, because this eye patch is bothering me quite a bit. But you know what? We'll put up with it. Much like I have a whole ass year ago. It's actually been a whole year since I wore this. And I'm sure some people who are viewing this video will not even know about that. In fact, they might be now intimidated by a half-naked man speaking to them about Race Zero. So anyways, the volume. So we start things off with a general, simple continuation of where we left off, essentially. We get Vincent speaking to all the generals, and of course, as you would expect, Cecilis is immediately running away. It's in character, it makes sense. And we also switch perspectives over to Subaru, where we get to actually see what happened when they tried to go rescue Rem earlier in the previous volumes and everything. So that's great as well, right? We now get to see what happened with him and Beatrice there. It's nice. And then we finally get to see more of what's happening with Subaru, Rem, all of them. And eventually with this, Subaru confronts Todd, and now they're having a face-off here, except not really, because Rem and Katya are there. And because of their general friendship and everything going on, the zombies, all that, them having people they want to protect, they essentially come to an agreement where they'll help each other out and take care of these zombies. And for the most part, they're doing pretty damn well. I mean, they're taking out a whole bunch of them. One of them that appears just so happens to be one of the big one-eyed dudes that Arakia and Todd killed, right? He's here now, and now he's going to battle them, so, he had a grudge towards Todd. And then Tenza picks up literal fucking buildings and throws it at him. This is the greatest moment that Tenza has had, and that is very shocking of me to say, because I loved that one moment at the end of the whole Colosseum stuff. I really loved that moment, but this is probably her best moment yet. Literal houses. This particular zombie is very fucking persistent, very strong. He manages to get a big injury on Tenza in there. I legitimately thought she was going to die and this was going to be a failed loop. Honestly, it was pretty damn scary. And Louie's kind of injured because of her whole technique that she was doing. But now we have a troubling little situation here. And Subaru and Todd kind of run off since that enemy is focused on them. This whole pride type of thing, and focusing on the ones that essentially are the strong ones here, right? And eventually they land this big explosion on him, take care of him, all that shit. It's great. Except for the fact that because of certain things that Subaru said, Todd is now trying to kill him again. There's a general just disagreement here, and it makes sense where Todd is coming from to a degree, but it's clear that Subaru's words weren't meant the way that he said. Obviously, right, it's that kind of moment there, so it's not great. But then we learn about wolf people in Wallachia and how they're not really treated all too well, especially the mole people, all that sort of shit, right? Those two are the big ones there because of shit that happened in the past involving stuff like Yorna, for example, that whole thing. But anyways, wolf people aren't really treated all too well. And on the topic of that, Todd starts becoming a werewolf, which is pretty surprising. I mean, I already knew about it because of a lot of spoilers, but pretty surprising to see overall. It's like, oh shit, the name Fang makes sense now, but oh, that is definitely scary. And now it's Subaru trying to figure out what to do in this situation, trying to survive all this. And eventually, Amelia gets here, saying the same shit that she did in the third arc. It's real great. She starts fighting Todd, all this, saving Subaru. And right as Subaru's about to get attacked by Todd, Rem comes in, who was also there, and hits him with his axe, sends him flying. But before that, like I mentioned with Amelia, with the whole third arc line, we get to hear Rem say the words, "Don't touch him." And I'm upset that this was one of the things I got spoiled on. Some of the stuff I was okay with. This was a big one for me. This is a moment I was waiting for. I was expecting it in a different format. I was expecting it once she fully got her memories back, but this was very special to me, and I was kind of upset to already know it, because it's like, man, this is good. This is some good shit. She's trying to protect him. All this. It's so good. But anyways, Amelia finds out that that's Subaru and everything. We also get a backstory to Todd, and it is about, I'd say, like 8 sentences long. It's incredibly short, and it's very funny. It fits his character, but it's very funny with the way it happens. I'm glad Tepe did that. That was actually good. And the follow-up chapter is just basically Amelia's perspective of things, of, oh, well, here's her arriving and meeting Rem, speaking to Rem, all this sort of shit, and then moving over to Subaru's area. And then we see Vincent planning out some stuff, plans to move, all that sort of shit, since the current area they're in isn't exactly ideal for setting up a strategy or anything like that. We see Sicilis by Sphinx, so that's certainly interesting. We're gonna see what happens from there, I guess. And we also get to see the continuation and presumed end of the Priscilla and Yorna versus Arakia fight. Arakia really gets fucked over hard here, like with this chapter. It's kind of brutal. She gets beat up constantly by Yorna, doesn't really get a whole lot of hits in, and then Priscilla just kind of slashes her once, and that's about the whole thing. It's kind of sad. I also kind of thought at first, I was like, oh wait, I wonder, because of the whole zombie thing, could this possibly affect Yorna, right? Could this be a weird gray zone where this also will affect Yorna? Now, I mean, it would have been cool, and I'm okay that it doesn't do that, right? But it would have been cool. And then we get some nice interactions with all the characters seeing Subaru again, right? The whole camp gets to see him, they're glad, all this. We also get to finally see Rem and Ram reuniting, and as you'd expect, it's a little bit awkward, because Rem doesn't fully know who she is, who Ram is, anything like that, so it's a little awkward, but it is very nice. Once again, I wish I didn't know about this, but it's very nice to see. I like it a lot. And then we get Vincent and Subaru about to speak to each other, and Vincent already knows who all these people are. He already knows they're from Lagunica, all that. So that makes an interesting scenario there. And the following 2 chapters are genuinely what I might believe to be like the best of the volume. Chapter 6 is pretty damn good, but these might be the best, because we get Vincent and Subaru talking to each other, and we get a whole bunch of stuff here. We see similar elements to Subaru speaking to Priscilla back in the 3rd arc with the 2 of them, considering the appas and everything, right? Kind of shows you their whole royalty status, as well as just how similar they are as siblings, right? Subaru's returned by death being perceived as a stargazer ability, all that type of shit, right? So that's also interesting. We see Vincent finally crack as a character, like he shows emotion here, all this sort of shit. It's really fucking great. And we also, at the very end of it, get what I can only assume to be a Gurren Lagann reference. I love that if it's true. I really do love that if it's true. And then the following chapter, we get to see a really great, tough, pill to swallow speech from Subaru. I really love this a lot, right? He's had speeches like this before with like Arc 2 and Rem, right? Arc 4 and Amelia, Arc 6 and Meili. But I think this is the most genuine and proper out of all of them. This is him giving a speech that sometimes, he was on the receiving end of, like, for instance, From Zero, stuff like that, right? I think this is a really great moment for him as a character. He gives this big speech to Vincent about all this shit that's, happened and what Vincent's doing, all this, right, what he should be doing. He goes over possible reasonings with Chiza and everything and what happened there. And then to just top it all off, we get the 2 of them referring to each other as the Knight of the Kingdom and the Emperor of the Empire, respectively. I love it. This chapter is really damn good. This is probably like the best chapter in the volume, right? The other one is like the 2nd best. This is probably the best chapter in the volume. Then we get another chapter of a lot of people speaking to each other, Subaru informs Katya that Todd might not be alive anymore, and Jamal's also there now. We also get another moment with Rem, which I'm going to coin the term, and this might already be used, but I'm going to coin the term of memory pinch, where she sees how Beatrice and Amelia are acting towards Subaru, and there's something within her heart that kind of reacts, right? I love it. I love it. I love that we're getting closer, right? It feels really good to, tickle all of us a little bit with this shit, tickle our balls a little bit, but it's real great. And then we get the cliffhanger here of, oh, what could have happened to Priscilla and Yorna, because they're not back yet, right? And we don't know what happened. This would be a good cliffhanger if it weren't for the fact that the chapter after immediately follows up with, oh yeah, no, the whole soul marriage thing is still in use, so therefore they're not dead, they're alive, and probably well. It's like, oh, okay, thank you for doing that then. I don't know what the purpose of that was. And we get this whole last moment where essentially the people of Laguna are going to leave, right, because of Otto's decision, which also Ram agrees with, Roswell agrees with, Beatrice agrees with. It's really just Subaru and Amelia who don't agree with this situation, and they try and come up with a compromise where, oh, wait, okay, how many people are in Wallachia? 50 million? Alright, 50 million people is who we're going to bring back, and all this sort of shit. And then Vincent, asks Amelia as, one of the candidates of the Royal Kingdom and all this to help him out, right? All that. The funny thing with this is, Otto planned this whole last thing. He knew this was going to happen, and therefore he planned it, which makes a lot of sense. Otto is insanely smart, so it's not surprising he came up with this whole last plan and was like, oh yeah, no, we can just easily get this to work if we go about it in this way, and then Subaru will say all this stuff. It'll work out. Kind of funny to have that happen. And then, out of fucking nowhere, a moment that I have been waiting for happens, and I was also spoiled on this, but that's okay. A moment I've been waiting for happened that, I wanted to see after reading all the what-ifs. We get Halle Bell showing up. This man was just a side story character. He never mattered before, really. I mean, he was a notable figure, right? Because he was one of the big, strong swordsmen along with the other three. And one of those three we still haven't heard about. To pay, please. But, it was this big thing of oh yeah, he's one of them. And now we finally get to see him in the main story. And that makes me very happy. And this is, of course, followed up with Anastasia and Julius also being there now. This should be great. But now that Julius is here, Balroy's back from the dead, Madeline, her whole affiliation with Balroy, so there's that, right? I think this will be a great moment there. And this chapter overall ends with Rowan, the drunk swordsman from all the way back, I think since volume 2, I want to say, maybe the third one. I think it was volume 2 though. And Heimko interacting with one another. And I actually found out that Rowan is the father of Cecilis. So this is an interesting interaction. These two drunk fathers of big swordsmen are now just, hanging out. I kind of like it a whole lot. And overall, that's the volume. I really like it, right? Even though this is just the first volume, it's just 15 chapters, all this, there was a lot more interesting and exciting info within this volume than some of the Arc 7 volumes. Honestly, I would say a majority of the Arc 7 volumes. Arc 7 had some really hype moments sometimes, right? Some really good volumes in there. But there were some that were good to just right? There were a few in there with Arc 7, right? I think that had its problems. Arc 8 so far, though, with just this first volume, has been really damn good. And it makes sense, right? Because this is supposed to be the action stuff of Arc 7. It had to get split because it was going on for too long, so it makes sense. But this is really damn good. It is very entertaining, and I'm very excited to see where we go from here. So, yeah, with that said, that's the first volume. So anyways, I think it's interesting that I'm going to be doing, the whole full Arc 8 video, all that type of shit. And the funny part is, this part's going to be cut out. So, it's going to be interesting. With the intro cut out, and this part cut out, I wonder how people are going to feel when I'm dressed in what I normally wear, right? Just normal clothes, and then we go to the first volume review, and I look like this. I think that's pretty damn funny to think about. But overall, that's it for this video. I got more videos on the way, obviously, right? We've got a big video project. I'm still working on that. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to try and get that out. I am debating if I want to put the other big video project first, so that I can get that out, and the other one could possibly go up later, right? There's a chance for that. That might be the better ideal scenario. I might do that. I'll keep you all updated on that. I'll also have more videos to come, of course, right? We've got all sorts of shit we're still going to do. I just kind of wanted to do this video for this week because I knew that the volume would be fully translated roughly around this week, right? I had a general gist of an idea, so I was like, okay, you know what, I think I'll wait to do anything and we'll just get this video out and that'll be that. But overall, that's it. I'm gonna go record other stuff and also continue reading Medaka Box because I started reading that the other day since I got caught up, quote unquote, with Roku Denashi Blues. And that was great. That was real great. I can't wait for that to eventually be fully translated. But I started reading Medaka Box the other day, and that's a very entertaining series so far. I'm not super far in at all, but it's very entertaining, and I'm having a blast so far. But yeah, anyways, hold on. Farewell.